Once again, welcome back to your new favorite show, Two Fat Kids from the 80s, featuring two fat kids from the 80s, my friend Peter and myself, Harlan. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, man? Good to see you.
It's good to see you. This is fun. We're doing the visual version today.
Which, because we took a poll and everyone said the number one thing they really want to see on their computer screens are two fat kids from the 80s. So, here we are.
I know. I think, honestly, for being two fat kids from the 80s, you're definitely less fat. You're definitely a less fat kid of the 2020s than I am. But I think we look pretty good.
Not too terrible. Not too terrible.
Yeah, not too shabby. Bro, I got such great feedback from our first show that,
Awesome.
We spoke off mic and we were like, yo, we need to do this again.
Yep.
So
yeah, people who listen to it on my end really seem to enjoy it as well.
Yeah. So obviously today we're doing this thing again. And look, we did a lot of different things during the 80s, but one of the things I think we both did a lot of was play video games.
Most definitely.
So what was your home console? What was your main thing?
I mean, I had an Atari 2600, just like, most kids. But I also had some fun in the, I guess, the mid-'80s. I had an Apple IIe, and I had some friends who knew how to crack video games. So I got all these games for free on the floppies, on the 5 1/4 inch floppies. My favorite game, hands down, that I used to play religiously after school every day was a game called Montezuma's Revenge.
Was that only available in Mexico, or were you able to play that here?
No, it was a game where you had to go. It had like 20 different levels, and you had to go through all the levels to collect diamonds. And when you reach the center of the caves, you get to all the diamonds, and you grab as many as you can, and it would just repeat itself. And the goal was to see how many times you could get through the cage, you get through the caves to the end. I can't tell you how many times I played that game. Oh my god, over and over and over.
It's so funny. Like, I was thinking of what are the holy grail games from the 80s? Obviously your Super Mario Brothers, your Donkey Kongs, your Dig Dugs and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But I was thinking, Pac-Man was such a big deal. And when you look back at that Atari 2600 Pac-Man, that might have been one of the worst video games ever made.
I mean, the Atari version was terrible. We all had it.
Yeah.
We all had it. It was, it was right up there with Space Invaders. We all had it. But I remember that there were a handful of 2600 games that were fun, regardless of how terrible they were. They were number one being Pitfall.
Pitfall is amazing.
Not only was Pitfall amazing, but you could play if you jiggled the on-off switch on the console just right, it would invert, and the colors would invert, and you'd wind up playing the game backwards.
Wow.
And I remember, you'd have to figure out how to get, because everything would be backwards. The alligators weren't green; they were yellow, and the rope that you had to swing across was like blue. Oh, it was trippy.
Oh my god! And there were so many tricks. I remember. I don't know if you remember Track and Field on the Nintendo system.
Oh yeah.
Where you had to go back and forth between the X and Y button or the A and B button to make the guy run faster. But if you took a tennis ball.
Yep.
And you rub it extra fast here, and then you hit A to jump, you would break. You jump over like 20-something feet on the long jump.
And it's funny because we were the geeks and the nerds, yet we learned how to rub things really fast with just the right texture, and that came in really handy, at least in my life when I was in college and beyond. Still does this day.
Right? It was funny. Like one of my first jobs was delivering the weekend newspaper. Like there was a weekend thing that went out on Saturdays. And 3 weeks in, I learned that nobody looked at it. So I just started throwing them out. And 3 months later, they called my parents. And my father was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, well, nobody reads this, so why would, I'm just throwing them out. He's like I couldn't tell if he was disappointed or proud. I think he was proud of the initiative. But the reason I wanted to be a Paperboy was because of the video game Paperboy.
Yep.
That game
Oh
was
my God, I
dope.
remember that game. I remember the game in the arcade with the actual bike handlebar.
Excite Bike. Yes.
Yep.
And then there were games that just
I
hit
remember
differently in the arcade, like Pole Position was so
I don't
cool
know
in
if
the
you can
arcade.
see. I don't know if you can see this from where I am,
Mm-hmm.
but you look right over there.
Oh,
That
my
is
God.
that is an actual Mortal Kombat 2 shell with about 15 games in it, including Paperboy, Galaga, Dig Dug, and Mortal Kombat 2, among others.
All right, so next weekend I'm coming over. We're going to watch Caddyshack and play video games. Like,
you
all
can thank
weekend.
my girlfriend for that. She picked it up for me. Yeah, she picked it up for me for my birthday. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, literally, I don't care. Like, you could be Marky Mark. I'll be Ted. I don't care which one I am. But we're clearly taking over your apartment. I'll gladly be the stuffed dirty
You got
bear. Was there any game worse than E.T.?
Oh God, yeah, E.T. was terrible. And I remember, God, what a big. You know what's funny? Everyone who still has an Atari, like in their attic or in their basement or somewhere, needs to go and look through the games, because there was an 82. What the hell was it? It was an 1982 release of a game called Air Raid. It was like a shoot 'em up, and it was for the Atari 2600, made by Venevision, the only game released by them. I remember it had flying saucers attacking like in a futuristic city. It had extremely limited distribution. It did not get released far, but because of that, it's currently, if you have that in your collection, it's worth about 33 grand.
Oh my God. And think of how our parents complained because like the Atari 2600 system, I think was $150.
Oh yeah,
33 grand.
Well, I'll take it a step further. There's River Patrol was another game where you basically got to go up and down a river. That's worth about $500.
Oh my God.
But then Red Sea Crossing was like a biblical game.
Okay.
Right? And I remember I didn't have it. I had a friend who had it, and it was like the only game his parents would let him get. It's worth like 10 grand now.
Oh my God. So the worse the game, the more value.
There is a rare copy of E.T.
Okay,
the game that we hated. Like, they basically got so many return copies that they like threw them all away. They returned them and like threw them into a pit or something. And because the game was so bad, there were so few copies around that the copies that still exist right now are worth over $100,000.
Oh my God.
So if you have an ET lying around somewhere in the back, might want to check that out.
Well, it's so funny. A very similar thing happened in my other geek world, like baseball cards. In 1986, baseball cards like hit their peak. And they were just overproducing everything. But nobody cared about basketball cards. And the Fleer company, in order to get their baseball cards, you had to buy like 2 cases of basketball cards. You couldn't give away basketball cards at the time, but in that set happened to be the Michael Jordan rookie card.
Oh, so my God.
Took these cases of basketball cards and basically threw them out. And I mean, for a modern day card from like the 80s on, the Michael Jordan rookie card, I mean, in gem and condition is $500,000. Even in bad condition, it's still, $5,000-$6,000. So I guess the the worse it is, the more we should hold on to things in our life.
My ex-wife was truly fascinated by true crime, and she's a huge true crime fan, and so one of the there was a rookie card of some basketball player who wasn't anyone special, but the card was worth a decent. It wasn't worth a lot. It was worth about $25, whatever, because it was shot right before a game, and in the background, I'm looking it up to see who it was. Let me see. Yeah, the guy was named Mark Jackson.
Okay.
He was with the Knicks, I guess.
Yeah, he played for the Knicks.
Yeah, he was with the Knicks in '91. And if you look, the card's worth about $8. But if you look on his card in the background, on the left of him throwing the ball, are Lyle and Eric Menendez.
Oh my God!
And apparently they're there, and this was apparently like 4 hours after they killed their parents.
Oh my God! So that literally
really
is a game
wild.
card.
You can Google it online. It's crazy. It's like, so I got my ex this basketball card. She's into true crime, and she's like, "Just give me a basketball card for what the hell is this?" I'm like, "Just look at it." And I don't even know I don't know what he plays for. Look in the back. Oh my God, that's so cool.
Well, that's definitely my next eBay hit now. Well, it's funny too. There was, I mean, this is recently. This is like early 2000s. They put out a Justin Bieber set of like trading cards, and in one of the cards, Drake was in the picture with him. So it's now considered the Drake rookie card, and it goes for like $100, $200. Like you can get it,
It's amazing.
Drake was, the other Canadian star.
Yep.
So really, really big question, and this is something that I'm super interested in. When you were playing video games as a kid, what was your go-to snack?
My parents, ironically, tried to keep me healthy in the house. They did a terrible job, but we never had like Doritos or anything good in the house.
Right.
The one thing that was always there that I will always equate to growing up in Staten Island, in my like preteens, was Dannon yogurt pops.
Oh, I remember those.
Remember yogurt pops? They had like 4 different flavors, and one of them had like a chocolate coating, like a chocolate candy shell. I mean, they would have been better giving me Doritos, I think. But I remember Dannon yogurt pops were like, wow. I ate those, and I remember they come in packs of 6, and I'd eat like 4 in a night, and it used to drive my parents crazy. You can't eat; they're made for one.
I was a big chocolate Pop-Tart kid.
Oh God.
Yeah, not toasted, because it lost a little something in the toaster. Nutter butters were big, but I'd say my biggest snack was, like, in the 80s, we got a microwave, which was huge. I learned how to make a scrambled egg. I learned how to microwave a hash brown. I would take whatever bread, and then I would cook in the microwave. This was all microwave cooking. It was like, Betty Crocker for fat kids. I would cook whatever meat was there, and I would make this tremendous egg sandwich in the microwave, and that was like the, let's have a snack. Let's eat this while we're playing Punch-Out and dreaming we were Mike Tyson.
You know what's so funny about Punch-Out? So the past 6 months has found me getting very heavily into boxing. And I'm doing a lot of boxing now. I'm training for my first fight in like March or April. And it's like 3 rounds. It's non-scored. I'm going to be paired up with someone similar to me. It's not, I'm not going for the Golden Gloves or anything, but I'm loving the sport and I'm having a blast with it. And I've never had shoulders like this before. It's awesome. But one of the interesting things is that on the days that I can't make it to the studio or to train, or just my days when I'm not in studio, my trainer told me to get for the Oculus a game called Creed, which is literally a workout game licensed by Rocky, by Sylvester Stallone and all that. But it is an actual workout. Like, I'll do it for 30 minutes and I'll be out of breath. I'll be sweating. And I think back to like Punch Out, and I think back to all those games that were supposedly sports games.
Yeah.
Right. And sports games. Now we have sports games. We have games that can actually make you work out. I remember the Nintendo Wii was the first one that you could actually do things with. But with the Oculus, I can actually get a decent workout, burn a few hundred calories in 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I did like an Oculus tennis game a few months ago, and I was dripping sweat.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's real.
It really is crazy. A lot of fun, though.
You know what's so funny? We were talking about boxing, and I mean, one of the greatest moments of the 80s right here, when Sylvester Stallone took on the USSR and, beat the Cold War in Rocky IV.
Yep. I remember, well, first of all, that soundtrack became the so that soundtrack has like 50 different meanings to me, but one of them, I was in college in the early 90s, and my parents, over Christmas or during the summer, we'd go down to Cancun for like a week. We'd go to vacation. And there was a club there called Daddy-O. And I would go in and I'd love to dance, and I was a dork, whatever. But the coolest thing about it was they had a light show to the Rocky IV theme. And everyone else there would be like dancing and drinking. I'd be like, oh, what's a light show? It's like, it was awesome. And then 20 years later, in 2006, I was training for the New York City Marathon, and the Rocky IV theme, not the long one, the one that ends with the one that ends with the not Burning Heart, but the training montage. Yeah. Training montage. The instrumental version, training montage. Okay. I would listen to that when I do hill repeats, right? Because it ends with it, and I get to the top of the hill, and I totally pull, like corner of 59th Street and 10th Avenue, everyone thought I was a fucking idiot, but it was like,
you just look like everybody else.
It was a really motivating workout.
Oh my God. I think we have to do a whole nother show on just Rocky.
Oh, no question about it.
No question.
I remember I went to, somehow I went to I think I just managed to sneak in. I was in Times Square at the time. Remember when, the hell was the name of was it Planet Hollywood? No, it wasn't Planet Hollywood.
The All-Star Cafe?
Was it All-Star Cafe? It was the one with that Stallone launched with
Planet
with
Hollywood.
Was that All-Star?
Yeah,
Planet Hollywood. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember going to the launch party of Planet Hollywood for some Jackie Chan movie. And they had it at Planet Hollywood in New York, and I just walked in. And somehow someone thought I was invited or whatever. I'm giving me swag bags, and there's Sylvester Stallone. He shakes my hand. Oh, thanks for coming. That was ridiculous.
Oh God, there's nothing better than a good Stallone sighting or joke.
You gotta have, because they're everywhere. I mean, I think that guy literally is everywhere. I remember last year, Fathom Events, that movie events company that produces like one night movie events.
Yes,
they did Rocky IV, basically a director's cut, but they called it Rocky IV, Rocky versus Drago, and it had like 21 minutes of extended footage, and they did a live interview with Sylvester Stallone from Philly, and so I got tickets. It was like right as COVID was starting to wane the first time, so I put on like 14 masks, and I went to the Ewok theaters on 42nd Street, and they do the live interview with Stallone, and we watch it, and they go, and now Rocky IV, Rocky versus Drago, and the screen goes dark, and next thing to come on the screen, satellite error, searching for satellite, not found. And we sat there for 40 minutes until they sent us up. We didn't get to watch the movie.
That's the way to kill a vibe.
Drago!
I don't think our budget allows to have Sylvester Stallone here, but maybe we could have Drago on one of our shows.
I can't imagine he's doing much.
Yeah, right.
I mean, after the Expendables 14, I think he's free. So
I mean, he did have the bump off of Creed 2.
yes,
Yeah.
I remember. It's funny. Speaking of video games, I remember one of the things I joke about. Um, I never used to. I was a fat kid in the '80s. I never exercised, and
Yeah.
when I talk to people today about, when they see me running or they see me boxing or they see me on my Peloton every morning, they say, "Were you always an athletic kid?" And I say, "Absolutely not." I said, "I ran in the '80s by pressing X repeatedly," and you can always tell which people are around our age because they totally get it.
Yeah. That would be a
Right?
good
And then
T-shirt.
you tell the young kids, press X. I don't understand. So it's like, but no, I on my by the time I got a Nintendo 64 with Mario not Mario, was it Mario? Not Mario Kart. What was the
Super Mario Kart.
Super Mario Brothers? Right, Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like, I guess, in high school, and I remember I gave my Atari and all my cartridges to my friend Andrew because he didn't have a video game system, and I got the Nintendo 64. I'm like, okay, there's a present for you, man. I know you don't have much. Here you go. And I haven't talked to that little fucker in about 15 years. I want my fucking tapes back, Andrew. I want all my cartridges back.
Andrew, if you're out there, we're coming for you.
Seriously, Andrew.
Well, I thought that, like, especially when we started playing it in high school, we started playing Madden football and NHL hockey and FIFA soccer. I thought that the skills on the game would translate to real life, which they really didn't at all.
They really did not. It really did
So
not.
weird.
What was the game? What was the game that was that had the bug? Was it NBA something? It had the bug in the software, and you went to the corner for 3, and you could always hit the corner shot for 3.
NBA Jam.
They mocked NBA Jam. Yeah, they mocked it in Family Guy. I remember.
Mm-hmm. And if you made 3 straight shots, you'd go on fire, and then you could dunk from anywhere on the court.
Right. Yep, that's what it was. Because I remember Peter was playing Cleveland, and he goes, he goes in the corner for 3. That's not how the game's supposed to be played.
Shocking that En Fuego thing didn't work in real life either. All right, brother. Well, this is fun. I think we need a video game night at your house.
Oh yeah. Well, we got the Mortal Kombat over there. We got an original. I don't know if you can see the original Miss Pac-Man there. Yeah, the original Miss Pac-Man down there.
Wow.
The original Pac-Man. It has Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Pac-Man Junior. So yeah, I got a few games, and then of course I have the actually over in the somewhere in one of those drawers. I have an original. I have a 2600. They came out with a new version of the 2600. It's digital, and it has like 40 of the games as a console, and it has the original paddles and so I have all that stuff.
Oh my god, Miss Pac-Man was the first time in my life I realized that women do everything better than men. Because it was such a better game than Pac-Man.
Miss Pac-Man had better interstitials.
Yeah.
After you complete 2 levels, where they run around, I don't remember the music, but I used to love it. I used to love the music from those.
Love it. Well, I'm gonna bring some Pop-Tarts and Nutter Butters, maybe a couple of Yoo-Hoos over, and we need to have our video game night. And I'll bring a roll of quarters. I'll put my quarters up. Kids have no idea what that means today.
They really don't. And I mean, my God, there was that one asshole kid who didn't know how to play, but he was rich, and he'd pull out like a $10 roll and crack it on the machine and just start laying it. Like, you're a dick.
Yeah, and then there was the kid who would always lie and say that it was his quarter that was next. And like usually he was a little bit bigger.
In the summer of '83, my parents got a house in Maine. Let's bring Peter to nature. That worked really fucking well. But so we would drive 12 hours to Bar Harbor, Maine, from New York City, and we get there. We have to pass through a small town called Ellsworth, and the one thing that Ellsworth had, other than like the supermarket where you'd shop, is it had a video game arcade. And
wow,
like the car wouldn't even be in park yet, and I'd be out the door at the video game arcade for like an hour while my parents shopped. I mean, this is 82, so it's pretty impressive I wasn't molested on a regular basis, but
Yeah.
I would just be at that video game arcade just playing over and over and over. And this was I don't know when it came out. It had to be like 83, I guess. Q*bert.
Q*bert.
And I remember the Q*bert, it had a knocker in the body of the machine. And when you fell off the side, the knocker hit.
Mm-hmm.
It was the creepiest thing.
Creepiest thing. And I mean, nothing hit quite as hard as going to a Times Square arcade back in the 80s. That was a whole nother experience.
When you say arcade, do you mean the arcade where you'd put the quarter in and the little window would open, you could see naked women, or the arcade where you could play video games? Because they're both justifiable in the 80s.
Either one. Either one. The quarters or the tokens may have worked at either one.
Another thing Giuliani fucked up. It was a perfectly good CD area.
Oh, my God. Well, we had back then. These kids will never know.
Well, not only will they never know, but I mean, the irony of the fact that I'm talking to you from the 56th floor of my apartment on the 56th floor on the corner of 42nd Street and 9th Avenue.
Oh, right in the heart of it.
If you had told me 30 years ago that I'd be living on the corner of 42nd Street and 9th Avenue, we would have gotten into a fight. Am I gonna be homeless? Fuck you,
Yeah.
And here I am living there. It's amazing. It's truly amazing.
You would have been like, I'm not a hooker.
Exactly.
I'm gonna have a job.
Incredible. Waffle, shut up. No, it really was incredible. I mean, to
It really,
be
really,
here
really was.
and to see what happened and where's it coming back from, it's just amazing.
Unbelievable. I remember watching, drug dealers in the 80s playing like conga with Uzi. And I was like, wow, they're so good at it. And I didn't really put two and two together that this was just like practice. So much fun.
Yeah,
well, I look forward to our video game night.
It's
we
going to
are
be a
gonna
lot
have
of fun, most definitely.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, what should we
something
talk about?
Live stream. We'll live stream that.
What's that, buddy?
We're going to live stream the video game night.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I will wear another shirt representing the 80s that night, too.
Without question.
Totally on brand.
To answer your question of what we should talk about next, I think next time we should each come with a list of 10 B movies and B movie stars that we want to talk about and try to contact.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the next show. All right. So for two fat kids from the 80s, of course, follow Peter on Instagram at Peter Shankman. It's super, super simple. It's easy to spell both names, and you can figure it out, at the official Harlan. The Harlan thing gets weird sometimes. It's Harlem, Harlan, Hardin, but just Harlan. And, check us out on all your major podcast platforms under Soul Free Radio, SOLE Free Radio. And we'll see you next time.